Hey, this is JP with your weekend update for Friday, January 6th, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. As a reminder, this doesn't replace the daily forecast. Check out the full forecast at sawtoothavalanche.com. So this past week, we had a moment to catch our breath and take a pause in digging out our driveways. The big story were winds moving snow out there in the mountains. If you look here, this is wind speeds for Titus Peak. On Friday night, they picked up to moderate from the southeast. And then again on Sunday from the north. And Titus doesn't do a good job of reporting that direction, but Ben and I were out in the field and experienced lots of plumes of snow moving in the boulders, and we were able to kick off some fresh wind slabs. And then the rest of the week, we had some winds as well, but there wasn't really enough snow out there to cause more problems. Yesterday, we had a small storm bring 2 to 6 inches across the area. The Soldier Mountains picked up the most, was 6, but there was snow that fell all the way up to Banner. With that came with some moderate winds from the southeast as well. And let's take a look at the recent avalanche activity. And while this isn't as active as some of our last big cycles, it's impressive how many human-triggered slides there were this week. We had 12 reported avalanches. 4 of them were remotely triggered over New Year's weekend. 1 slide caught and carried an experienced skier. Luckily, they didn't withstand any injuries and they weren't buried. So we're happy to hear that news. All the slides were in freshly wind-loaded terrain. Many involved persistent weak layers buried 1 to 3 feet below the surface. Many of the avalanches were above 9,000 feet. 8 released in the Galena, Summit, and Eastern Mountain Zone, 2 in the Sawtooth and Western Smokies, and 1 down in the Soldier Mountains. 5 slides released naturally Monday, 4 slides in the Boulder Mountains, and 1 in the Sawtooths. Let's take a closer look at some of the remote triggered avalanches. This was on New Year's Eve on Mushroom Ridge. We had reports of multiple people being out that day, so it's unclear if the party was going up this slope here or from below down here or on the ridge line. But either way, it triggered an avalanche at 9,500 feet on the south-facing slope that failed on a firm crust layer where there was just a little bit of facets on top of it. And this was cross-loaded from that windstorm that was Friday night likely. Ben went up to investigate where the crown of the avalanche, so this is where the slab came off the mountain, released from the hillside here and slid on this crust. The layer of facets were down below here and a dense slab above it. You can see wind effect on top of here. So these are kind of the things that we're trying to point out in the forecast for you all. And then the very next day, we had a very large remotely triggered avalanche over in the Pioneer Mountains. This group was at the top of this run, transitioning the ski down a low angle slope in the other side. And we're trying to get out of the wind when they remote triggered this 2,000-foot long slide that came down and hit the summer trail. And this is looking from the top of that avalanche down. You can see some really nice piles of debris and then it crossing over the summer trail. And for those of you that have gone into the Hyman Basin and skied out of the Pioneer Yurt or sledded it up there, you probably crossed the same slide path before. In the lower left corner, that's what it looks like on the snowmobile trail. And Ben went up there to investigate this, and it looked like it failed in the old November snow. So why were there so many remote triggers in such a short period of time? Well, this might just be the right overlap of having unstable snow, but not too unstable. So it's not very obvious that it's unstable. And more people just getting out for the holidays and starting to nibble at steeper terrain out there. Now looking at some natural avalanche activity. This was up on Galena Peak on the 2nd between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. The avalanche on the left started as a wind slab up here and then moved down the hill and stepped down into deeper weak layers, creating a bigger avalanche. This was on a northwest aspect. You can see lots of snow is stripped along the ridge line and deposited in the middle of this alpine bowl. Another avalanche that occurred on Easley Peak, south-facing slope this time, but same kind of cause. Wind slabs breaking loose up top, traveling down this track, and then stepping into deeper weak layers below. And this likely failed on that same crust facet layer. So after a long stretch of being in considerable danger, this week marked all zones dropping down in the moderate. Persistent slabs get their name from lasting weeks to months in the snowpack, and we're seeing a trend towards better stability, but that is a very slow process. Until we have more clear evidence that buried weak layers are improved, a conservative approach makes sense. Nearly all the natural avalanches occurred on steep, wind-loaded slopes at upper elevations. So you can greatly reduce your risk by avoiding these sorts of slopes. Looking ahead at the weather this weekend for Galena Summit, this is at 9,400 feet. We have highs in the low 20s. It's going to be partly sunny tomorrow. Lows are going to be in the teens. And then we have that snow icon over there for Sunday. Now, this isn't going to be like our last big heavy hitting storms. This is going to be on the lighter side of things, probably more like the storm that happened yesterday. And we're going to have an increase again Saturday afternoon with the wind speeds through Sunday. So that looks like that we're going to probably be looking for wind slabs forming from this new snow that we're going to get on Sunday and increased winds. The persistent slabs are going to continue to linger in the forecast, as I mentioned why before. The likelihood is slowly decreasing, but we're nowhere near having zero chance out there. Okay, so where does that leave us? If you're going out this weekend sledding or touring with your friends, make sure you read the avalanche forecast. Take the time to be on the same page with what risk, if any, that you're willing to take with the given current conditions. Avalanches are most likely in that prime time avalanche terrain, steeper than 35 degrees, generally where the slopes face towards the sun, and there's been recent or past wind loading going on. So if you find yourself looking down a steep slope that you want to ski, think about the consequences if it were to avalanche. Will this avalanche take me through a band of cliffs? Are there a stand of trees below me? Does that slope abruptly change at the bottom? Looking for slopes where the terrain fans out gradually and is free of these obstacles will increase the likelihood of not getting buried as deep or hitting things along the way. If you see this picture of this alpine bowl, there's no trees or cliffs to get taken over, and it doesn't stop abruptly in the valley floor. It actually fans out to lower angle. So this debris has time to fan out and move. And I'll leave you with a little teaser of the next potential storm for Monday, Tuesday timeframe. We're still days out from having confidence in this pictured forecast, but as you can see, there is forecasted to be a chance of up to a foot of snow. So make sure you check back in with the avalanche forecasts and be safe and have a great weekend out there.